So our story would begin with Jiren and Hit standing with their hands outreached in front, each with a powerful concentrated black ball of energy in their palms, as at one point they were ready to blow up the pyramid of power Vegeta was located in. But now, both would be left with confused looks. Someone's coming out. As a suspicious possessed Hit would then slowly evaporate his own energy ball as he wonders, what curious timing. Could that God Killer have already known of our presence this entire time? Wouldn't surprise me. And just as Hit had noticed, someone does indeed appear to begin walking out, as a potentially familiar pair of feet then begin to step forward from the darkness.
Hey, yo.
Sorry to keep you waiting.
Hey, is that Frieza? Wait,
but
what?
shockingly, who would walk out would be far from the God Killer, but instead, what seems like an entirely new figure,
Damn,
but
what
with an
the-
undeniable evil presence of one certain former Emperor of the Universe.
Is that black and white he's covered in?
Lord Frieza, who seemingly, having unlocked an all-new form and level of power under his mysterious years of training of Zamasu, would emerge now in his true black demon Frieza form. No longer massive in size, back to his earlier final form height now. What? Leaving Makoto within him, who just looked
Yeah,
on with
what?
pure confusion, never having seen such a creature before,
wow.
as he asks, "You aren't the God Killer? Who in all hell are you? Foul-looking creature, you seem a demon yourself." Oh? As Frieza, with a curious but devious look, would place his finger under his chin and inquire, "So, even you recognize my demonic presence? Good, as expected when I am the heir of the great demon, Lucifer. But for you to dare not know who I am by name, I'm afraid that will be your biggest mistake. You two worms should do well to remember me, especially you, Jiren the Grey." Surprising the possessed Jiren, as Makoto would think. Did this creature just refer to himself as the heir of Lucifer? What nonsense does he speak?
Air
How
of
would
Lucifer.
this mortal even know of the great demon to begin with? He seems to be familiar with this oath I am within also. But how? What? But suddenly, as Makoto would begin to wonder, a sharp pain would strike Jiren from within his mind, as memories of the past begin to forcefully come through with the words of Frieza. As vividly, Jiren within begins to remember viciously beating down Frieza in the Tournament of Power, as he would grumble, Frieza, I know you? Before, with a sudden change in countenance, Makoto would regain back control, with the blood demon within then letting out, "My hold on this giant freak is loosening. His own self is beginning to resurface by force. Seems splitting myself between two of these mortals has more drawbacks than I initially thought." Before then quickly, Jiren would pull his arm back wildly with his teeth gritted and suddenly increases his power level, grumbling as he does so, "This little reunion can be of no help either. I'll end this now for good measure!" Yeah! Instantly then launching towards the Pyramid of Power, straight at Frieza, ready to send him to the next dimension. My, This feels like deja vu. As the cockily smiling Demon Frieza would not flinch an inch, just
Yeah,
waiting
we gotta
for
see what
Jiren's
true
arrival,
Demon Frieza can
as if
do.
He were not a superpowered member of the 5 strongest. But ultimately, the most unbelievable turn of events would unfold when Jiren would eventually land his first punch, as simply with just the tip of his finger alone, true Black Demon Frieza would stop the full force entirely, showcasing there truly was a gigantic step in progress and power that he made within the last 20 years inside the pyramid. With the Frost Demon commenting, what was that, Jiren? Are you play fighting? Skip the warm-up. I've had more than enough of that, trust me. What? But of course, just the mere sight of him being treated and stopped in such a manner sends Jiren's head into a tailspin of disbelief, as he yells, What magic is this? Some kind of force field? That was a full strength punch! This body, is it beginning to fail me already? This cannot be. And being linked by the same demon, so too would Hit have the same look of shock, as with wider eyes than we've ever seen from the assassin in the series. Hit would mumble, "These bodies are fresh. There has been no change in our power levels. I can feel it. Just who or what is this creature?" And as Hit would stand mesmerized and perplexed at the situation, the shocking feats would continue with Jiren throwing out a truly deranged barrage of attacks in succession, but with each attack just being stopped and blocked
With
in the
one
exact
finger.
same way, all by simply Frieza's left arm's finger, without ever moving from his spot at all.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
How the tables have turned! And with a big grin, relishing in just how overpowered he has now become, Frieza would not be able to help but laugh, taunting Jiren, "If only it had been like this all those years ago. I would have loved to have had my revenge right there and then." But watching from afar and far from impressed would be Hit, silently waiting as if planning another assassination, as when we look closer at his serious face, he would be thinking, I don't know who that is, but the big one can't handle this alone. It may be time to test this time ring and see just how this assassin's techniques work. And just like that, Hit would then make his move, jumping forward before menacingly yelling, "Time freeze!" as the dimension itself around him shatters into hundreds of pieces in typical time skip fashion. And ultimately, just as this technique is used, true Black Demon Frieza would find himself frozen still, along with Jiren, as if someone had taken a snapshot. And Frieza, noticing this, unable to even move his facial expression it seems, would look around wondering, "Now what is this? My body frozen? How ironic. Even the freezing temperatures of planet Frost could never stop my Frost Demon kind. So this must be based on their puny powers." And as Hit would catch up with Jiren, the two would look on at each other, knowing exactly what the next move would be as Jiren is released from the time freeze alone. Before in perfect synchronization, The duo would then rush violently at the vulnerable Frieza, aiming to take advantage of the situation while they can. You fools. But it wouldn't take long for this so-called advantage to be revealed to perhaps be nothing of the sort, as Frieza's facial muscles instantly relax and begin moving freely, giving the demon a cocky smile as they move in. I told you, not knowing Lord Frieza would be your downfall! As immediately, moving at hyper speed, breaking through even the time freeze that
Frieza has never
Makoto
went against hit,
before
right?
him. True
That's
Black
crazy how
Demon
he's able to just
Frieza
figure
would
out,
rush
hits
forward in a
ability
blur
that quick.
before.
That's crazy.
With intense power, speed, strength, and impact, Frieza would slam both Hit and Jiren mid-flight right in their stomachs, winding them both
that's like
instantly
the Black
as
Frieza
their
move
eyes
that he did
burst
against Goku and
open
Vegeta,
and
right?
blood splatters from their mouth from the internal rupture alone. And as expected, the result would be Hit and Jiren's bodies being sent like rockets from Frieza, crash landing into two adjacent mountains for devastating impacts that leave debris everywhere, leaving Frieza to just land in the distance with a small thud, before standing tall in a typical Frieza pose with his hands regally behind his back. He would then let out, My, I knew the fruits of my training would be vast, but this is just embarrassing for you two. From those eyes, I can tell you're not yourselves. But do not tell me you are the so-called fourth of the 5 strongest those monkeys inside were warning me of. Surely not.
He heard that.
But in response to these
Oh, man, he got
insults,
angry.
Makoto's puppets would yield their final hand, powering up and exploding out of the rocks and debris of their earlier collision. And looking down with true aggression, Jiren in particular would just grumble. Perhaps this body wasn't as strong as I had once thought, and perhaps you are no ordinary mortal either. But no matter, you all pale in comparison to my true form. I will show you why those who see a blood demon never see anything ever again. As with a demonic roar, both Hit and Jiren's red eyes would suddenly vanish along with their pupils, their bodies duck down, convulsing and bulking up as they begin to undergo a truly hideous final transformation. One which ultimately, as they scream to the depths of hell, would bring on the release of an ominously dark red blood out of their skin, which slowly begins to coat their entire body. Jiren and Hit are beginning to lose themselves and become two entirely different creatures. You and the God Killer all die here! As finally, with
Dude,
their
look at
transformation
Hit. Why is he
complete,
have why is
two
his tongue out
horrendous
like that?
blood demon Makotos would be seen, each modeled after their respective warrior, and each with 2 tails instead of the 4 Makoto had by himself, as blood both rises from their immense aura and slathers on the ground from the constant pumping. But finding all of this endlessly amusing would seem is none other than Frieza, who, unable to contain his laughter, would squint as he says, "Oh my! What is this now? How I've missed the curiosities of the real world. Blood demons, you say? Then this shall be most interesting to see how a frost demon fares in comparison. Come, I am ready for you!" "Cocky brat!" And in tandem, using the same voice, both of the blood demons would just yell in annoyance, ready to launch at Frieza in front of them before... What? Suddenly, a look of pure shock and terror would overcome the two terrifying creatures, as they would begin to realize in that instant something had changed, and changed for the worse. How? As when the two demons would look behind, they would see
Wait, bro, where did
none other
Frieza
than
come
true
from?
Black
What the-
demon Frieza already behind them, and with each of their tails grabbed by one of his hands, as he would say from behind, "Sorry, my fellow demons, but I can't help but think these two giant tails on your back are probably slowing you down. I know I can cope barely with just one." Before, with a sinister tone and voice, smirking devilishly, he would finally add, "Here, let me help you lose some dead weight." As suddenly, in violent fashion, Black Frieza would immediately then rip off each of their tails straight from their backside, like ripping toilet tissue off, causing a splattering of blood to shoot out as their limbs are violently removed. And with ironically blood-curdling screams, both the possessed demons would scream in agony
Okay.
as their pupils disappear
Oh,
from the
man.
pain. Instantly then turning around to confront Frieza, who is far from fleeing, standing still in fact before... "What's wrong? Want these back?" Instigating the battle himself, as he suddenly then rushes straight forward like a maniac, still wielding the two torn off tails in his arms as if they were his swords or trophies.
Oh, is he slapping them with
And
their
is perhaps
wait?
the greatest sign of disrespect
He's slapping them with
possible
their own
in the
tails.
situation, rather than dirty his own fists. True Black Demon Frieza would instead slam both fighters with their own tails, brutalizing them each in quick succession. And with their bodies still flailing from being attacked earlier, Frieza would
Makoto-
then finish the
Makoto is
job,
finished.
slamming each
It's
again
over.
with their now deteriorating tails before... Each would slam face first
Yeah, he's
onto
gonna have to
the
take
ground,
over Frieza.
seemingly down for the count. Leaving the Frost Demon to then look down at his two fallen prey and simply let out, "See? I told you those tails were heavy." Before then dropping and discarding of the two tails onto the floor, as if letting go of two bats that
Man,
had
that was
broken.
quick.
Until finally, in a callous move, the Emperor would walk forward to the two bodies and begin pointing down his fingers, with a black ball of energy at the tip, all sorely aimed at their vulnerable skulls. And with a truly demonic laugh, he would then chuckle and say, "Fool for naught, whatever you are one pathetic disgrace. If power is what that monkey desires, then you aren't even worth keeping around. I'm sure he won't mind me getting rid of you before he's out." But just as Frieza would begin to think this, a humanoid-like hand would then stop him in
I'm
his
guessing
tracks,
that's Goku.
grabbing at his forearm.
With the wristband.
Could it finally be Vegito himself? You! But when we finally do see, it wouldn't be Vegito, or at least all of him, as standing there, stopping Frieza as if he were a child, would be Son Goku, in base form and covered in scratches from his own decades of training, as he would look down and then say stoically, "You're getting a bit too carried away there, Frieza. You know the plan, and you don't get to call the shots. Vegito will decide if this guy is worth adding to our cause. Got it?" To which an infuriated Frieza would just scream back, "Careful who you put your hands on, you damn monkey! I'm afraid you're talking to me, not knowing at all who or what I have now become. Carry on at your own risk." And as if heeding his request, the Saiyan from Earth would then remove his hand. While Frieza, now trying to calm himself back down, knowing starting a fight right now may not be in his best interest, would then close his eyes and say calmly, "Fine, have it your way, Son Goku. Take as much of these weaklings' energy as you'd like. In the end, it will make you no closer to the level I am at now." But still conscious on the ground below, Blood Demon Hit would watch as this incident all plays out, and out the corner of his eyes would remark, Who is that now? This new mortal made the other one cease all actions with a single sentence. Could he be even stronger? He doesn't look it. But if that is the case, he could serve as a much better host to teach that vile frost demon why you do not mess with a god. As from the side of Makoto's body, a red fleshy blob of material would then secretly detach, ready to do one thing we've seen happen twice now already. As Goku, seemingly none the wiser, would just stand there looking at
Makoto's trying to pull a Majin Buu, bro.
Slowly but surely, the red material would reach closer and closer to his foot, and up his leg before shooting up his shoulder, and then straight towards Goku's face. Huh? What? But as it would approach, Goku's instinct would kick in, and suddenly, within his right eye, a Seraphim eye would emerge, shocking even the essence of Makoto within the red blob, before instantly it is evaporated from the sight of Goku's cyan eyes alone.
Probably should have went to Frieza, honestly.
Goku just nonchalantly, as if knowing beforehand what was going to happen already, would just say, "Good try, but you should know, I'm already part of another fusion, friend." And it would seem not only would the red flesh erase, but Makoto himself would instantly also feel a burning sensation as his demon side makes contact with the divine angel powers of Goku. And from this, another giant fleshy material would then shoot out of not only Hit, but Jiren this time too, into the air before combining on the ground below and slowly rising up. As suddenly, formulated once again, would be the true Blood Angel Makoto, four tails intact, with his gruesome face now looking angry as ever, while Hit and Jiren are left unconscious on the ground, but no longer possessed. Damn you! And with his tongue spewing out in rage, Makoto would only be able to think, unbelievable! First another demon comes out of that pyramid, and now a mortal using the divine techniques of the Seraphim! He used the divine smite without even saying a word! But how? Techniques like that are only ever fully learned through Dai's teachings. Not even the angels could ever fully make use of it. Yet this mortal can? Something is not adding up here. And grabbing onto his stomach in discomfort, as if a huge chunk of his energy had already been used up, he would add, I was lucky before, but this may now truly be it for me. There are no more worthy hosts to take control of. If I'm going to die, then I will go out unleashing my full demon form. I won't last long, and even if I do, my smiting at the hands of Dai or his lackeys will all be but confirmed. But at the very least, it will be far better than just dying to these damn mortals! Instantly,
Okay, Makoto's finally going full power. We've seen him in like so many chapters now. It's crazy.
Would then begin screaming an unsightly demonic screech as he prepares to go through one more final unstable transformation.
My statement still stands. Those who see the blood demon will never see anything else again!
As finally transforming into his final form, almost reminiscent of how Lucid looked, Makoto would become surrounded in a terrifying crimson red aura, as Goku and Frieza just watch on while smoke and debris blow everywhere. Oh! But a curious and seemingly intrigued Frieza looking on would just mutter, so the members of the Five aren't as pathetic as they led me to believe. Seems there may actually be more to this one than meets the eye. While Goku, still with just his one Seraphim eye activated, would stare without a word. Not clear if he too is impressed, or whether he couldn't care less. And in the aftermath of Makoto's final power-up, he would just stand motionless himself, as if readying himself for his final battle. Amongst the smoke, as a dark creature ready to put it all on the line. You will die first, Frost Demon! As the
he's mad. He's mad at
immediately
Frieza, so he's gonna go after him first.
But with a particular target in mind.
Okay.
Moving towards Frieza, who understandably he has the biggest grudge against after being beaten down. Why must everyone not like me? I can't quite figure it out. But of course, Frieza would only find the situation amusing, smiling as Makoto approaches. I want the dirty smirk off your face! While the triggered Makoto would speed up faster and faster, ready to annihilate his foe. That is until... Goku would intervene.
No, Goku, no. We need to see Frieza versus Makoto.
Straight onto the
Man, I was looking forward to seeing Frieza, man.
Nothing had changed at all. You again! Sending the fool back to skid across the ground, dragging his heels and claws into the floor as he does so. While they're continuing to smile and giggle, Frieza, who almost expected this to happen, would just explain, "Sorry, my friend, but I feel our playtime is over now. It seems these monkeys don't like to share. Perhaps, if you kill him in brutal fashion, I'll reward you with another spar." While Goku, landing perfectly on the ground with his palm forward and without breaking a sweat, would then redirect attention back to him, saying, "You took over my friends' bodies, used them like puppets, and left them for nearly dead. Your fight is with me now, and I will not forgive you." "Friends? You call those weaklings your friends? One of them wanted to kill you!" Leading to Makoto, screaming back over Jiren's earlier goal of finishing the God Killer. Before... the two would instantly launch at each other in tandem, Makoto from the air and Goku from the ground, with Goku saying mid-flight briefly, "Disagreements between friends are just that. Between us only." And as Makoto would launch his punch almost like a spear towards Goku, the legendary Saiyan...
his face, you see Makoto's face right there?
Underneath.
That looks scary.
Stay still!
But undeterred, Makoto would just continue, launching all four of his tails from behind this time in a similar fashion. But ultimately, these two would be dodged and perfectly by the emotionless Goku. Before in a brief instant, the Seraphim would then raise his palm up and tense, holding it still, before it suddenly begins to vibrate at sonic speed, so fast it's not long before it appears almost unmoving again to the naked eye. And with what looks like kinetic energy alone,
Shockwave,
would then
bro?
just shove his palm straight forward and create a shockwave of power that sends Makoto catapulting away, leaving the blood demon to scream in uncomfortability as he loses all control of himself under the forward pushing power of just Goku's right hand. And as Goku would watch on, he would continue to not say a word, his Seraphim eye tracking every movement before, in a slow, contrived movement, Goku would inch two fingers up closer and closer towards his face, as if waiting for the right exact moment. Why aren't I stopping? While Makoto would just continue to move back at pace, as if part of an elaborate choreography. Wait, what is this? But as the demon would move further forward, he would begin to lose himself in a blinding light that gives a familiar burn. What? As suddenly, from behind, a giant roar is heard as two massive cyan eyes open and approach him
He's gonna
alarming
try to
speed
smite him?
and with vicious intent. Where did this come from? As behind him, unbelievably,
here we go, bro.
a
It's a
giant
dragon.
silver dragon would appear, just like it did for Black Frieza. As from the ground itself, the enormous silver creature would burst out as Goku yells, "Dragon Smite!" And the legendary member of the Fourth, looking on with his one eye burst open in disbelief, would be able to do nothing but scream out in fear as he claws desperately to stop the beast about to swallow him. But once zoomed out, from Son Goku's perspective on the ground, the true sheer size and futility of ever trying to stop this giant silver dragon is then shown. As strewn all across the skyline,
that's a dragonfish dragon, bro.
Makoto in one bite, the divine dragon would reach a pose before looking into its cyan eyes. No noises would be heard until, with a roar, those same eyes would then begin emitting a divine blinding white light until, in a truly gigantic explosion, the silver dragon would detonate into a beautiful light show.
Yeah, it's safe to say Makoto is probably
of the
gone,
planet,
right?
but without any of the harshness or debris of a normal one. As looking from down below, with a slightly cautious look, Frieza would just think to himself, well, that certainly brings back memories. I wouldn't have survived that back then. But now, as from the aftermath of the dragon's explosion, something would then be seen falling to the ground.
I know Makoto's still alive, okay.
Eventually crash landing with a thud on the floor below before, with a hushed outburst of pain, the fallen creature would of course be revealed to be Makoto. Utterly beaten, his eyes closed, but his mouth completely open, breathing in and out his final breaths. But walking over confidently, yet slowly to check on his defeated prey, Son Goku would arrive, and immediately then lift up his palm towards Makoto. But perhaps not in the same way Frieza was going to, as he lets out, "You've done more than enough harm in your lifetime. I spared you with that last attack, but I won't have you dying here while we wait for Vegito. Here, I'll give you some of my energy." Huh? But just as sparks of life force energy would begin to be created within Goku's palm, suddenly, the Saiyan would notice something out of the ordinary approaching. As slamming down from up above, a sharp beam of energy would penetrate Makoto straight through his chest as Goku jumps back instinctively. But as Makoto would gag for dear life, once we look down, the beam would not dissipate at all, and instead reveal itself to be a divine-looking blade. What? With the shocked Goku,
wait, that's a blade?
Thinking,
wait, what?
What just happened? I could barely sense that until the very last second. It was so fast. And as Goku would eventually then finally land, in front of him, a dark, ominous figure would stand atop the said blade, sitting over Makoto's now potentially deceased body. With finally, when we do zoom in on the still mysteriously dark silhouette, the creature would just say, "Smiting of the demons is far from a mortal's job. I don't know where you got that eye from, but you should leave this to me, child. The fifth of the 5 strongest."
Alright guys, there you guys have it. Seraphim Goku kills Makoto, 4 for the 5th strongest, bro. Yeah, I'm gonna rate this one a solid 8 out of 10, bro. Black, a demon Frieza I mean, I like that form that he has now. I mean, I think it's a cool form, right? Makoto just got rocked this whole entire episode. RIP to Makoto. 5th of the 5 strongest seemingly smited him, which, I mean, he did say that was going to happen. Like, there's a good chance that would happen anyway to him. But it's still just kind of crazy just seeing that, you know, a member of their own team, like, you know, kill another member, right? That's kind of interesting to see that. But yeah, thank you guys for watching. Of course, we're gonna go to the next episode where I'm assuming we're gonna see the 5th of 5 strongest here. So I'll see you guys in the next one, of course. And until then, peace out.